Hello, my name is Elijah Miti, author of the book The Postponer, How to Develop Rich Thinking. Today I just want to share something about achieving goals. Most of us today are in a situation where we have written goals, we have heard a lot of motivational talks, we have attended seminars, we have played DVDs, listened to audios. But the question is, do you know the two things that you need to do in order to achieve your goals? There are two things that you need to understand. Number one is you need to know where you are exactly right now. And number two, you need to understand where you are going. It's simple and it's so obvious. You need to know, number one, where you are right now, and you need to know where you are going. Those are the two most important things in achieving your goals. Now, why are so many people right now who've written goals but still say that I am stuck? And this is something that we really need to look at. And the most important thing is to know where you are right now. Take for instance, if you see a small ball rolling, definitely it's got a direction. And what we need is to connect the mind of money connection. The mind of money connection. For us to actually move from where we are to where we're supposed to. The two things that I want to look at before I go deeper into this goal setting and achieving lesson. You know, the mind is actually into two parts. There is the conscious mind, and there's also the subconscious mind, which actually relays information to the body for us to have the results that we have and to get the goals that we have. Now, most of the people have studied materials, they have done ABCD, they've written goals, but there's still that gap between your results and the goals that you're currently achieving. You must understand that it's a mind game. It's a mind game. You need to retrain your mind because it's very important. Let me just do a quote by Dr. J.B. Ryan. He says, "The miracle of the mind is the greatest power in all creation." You know, each and every one of us has been given this powerful tool called the mind. The mind is able to actually make decisions. It's got an intellect. It's able to be educated, and you're able to get results once you learn the process. You know, over the years, I have been studying the brain, I've been studying the mind and asking this question: why is it that other people do better than others, but still, you know, with the same level of education or doing the same kind of jobs? You see that most of us are actually influenced by other people's habits, and that's passed on from one generation to the other. And this actually pattern of behavior is what we usually call paradigms. Someone might ask, what are paradigms? Paradigms are simply a multitude of habits. They are a multitude of habits. These are habits that we practice on a daily basis. These are habits that we learn or copy from friends that influence our lives. These are habits that have been passed on from one generation to another. Now, you need to actually shape your paradigm, and you need to understand that paradigms actually shape our logic. Most of the greatest inventors who have lived over time are people that, you know, when you look at the things that they did, you don't see any logic in it. An example is the Wright brothers, who were bicycle engineers or bicycle mechanics. They were able to develop something that we call a plane today because they started believing in themselves. They started actually moving from where they were to where they were supposed to be, and they created something that you enjoy from one country to another. Now, another thing that you really need to know when you are dealing with paradigms is you need to understand your perception. the things that you see and interpret in your own way. You know, two people can see one item and interpret differently. For instance, there is this belief that there is black and white people. But when you look practically at the color black, black is black and white can be, like a shade white. When you look at your skin right now, do you think it's black or do you think it's white? But it's the perception that has been implanted in our mind, and we see what we perceive. So it's very important to actually know your perception. Then you will realize that paradigms actually control our time. Paradigms, which are a multitude of habits, control the way we use time. Each and every one of us has been given the same time. We have 24 hours each day, but in that 24 hours, others are more productive and others are not. It just depends on the pattern of paradigms, which is a multitude of habits. Then you also realize that when you are able to utilize your time, there is effectiveness that comes in your life. In other words, you move from where you are to where you are supposed to be, and you start getting results. Then the other thing that is very important is when you utilize your logic, when you now start seeing yourself where you are supposed to be, and you use the time to develop yourself through personal development, you start being effective in whatever you do, and then the end result would be that you become productive in whatever area you are doing, be it a job, be it business. There is that level of efficiency, there's that result to achieve the goal that you want, and the end result is that your ability to earn money actually kicks in. So it's very important. Now let's look at something. There's a picture that is now showing on your screen right now where it's divided in three parts. The upper part is actually the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the body. Now, the conscious mind has these sensory organs where we are able to hear, and we are able to gather information, and we are able to know. And this is actually something that our education system has actually taught us. We read books, we memorize books through the conscious mind, which is actually the education mind, where there's the intellect, and you are judged in school as somebody who's intelligent because of the information that you are able to hear, gather, and at the end of the day remember through a test, and you are judged through passing what you remember as an intelligent person. But now when you start developing your mind to another level, you start developing the subconscious mind, where now you are able to listen to the information, you are able to learn, and you are able to actually move from your conscious mind of gathering information and dropping them into the subconscious mind, which is an emotional mind, and that kicks in the ability for you to do something about your situation, and you start getting better results through what you learn. School has given us valuable knowledge. However, school never taught us how to alter the paradigms. School never taught us how to alter the paradigms, which are a multitude of habits, a certain pattern that you're supposed to follow. Therefore, we need to frequently do the learning process. Most of us know that there is a frequency that we need to actually adapt each and every day, a certain behavioral pattern of learning. Every day when we wake up, pick up something and learn something. You will realize that through the system of education, which I'm very grateful and thankful for, we've been able to learn subjects like biology, history, English, mathematics, physics, economics, and that's what we call education. But at the end of the day, there is superior knowledge that we still need to actually learn so that we stop this inferior result system that we are getting that is causing a lot of confusion in many lives. We need to start getting results, and we can only start getting results when we change our paradigms, which are a multitude of habits, and then bring in new paradigms. By bringing in new paradigms, I mean you start bringing in new habits in your life through learning. One thing you realize is that each and every one of us thinks in pictures. We all think in pictures. There's a saying that you become what you think about. Think, for instance, if you can picture in your mind seeing yourself sailing in a very big boat or ship, already you are drawing that picture in your mind, but it can only become a reality when you do something about it. That's why it's important. What does your mind look like today? Where are you? And where are you going? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves. And through this process of knowing what you really want, you need first to understand how your conscious mind works, how your subconscious also works, in order for it to influence the body to do things that will actually lead you to achieve the goals that you really want. Now, when we look at the conscious mind, this is the thinking mind. This is like the central processing unit of a human mind. That's where you think what you want to become, you think what you really want, and then it's also an education mind. This is where all the history, the mathematics, and everything has been, been coming through your conscious mind. And then, of course, it's an intellect. That's where, your intellect is. It's in your subconscious mind. Your intellect is in your conscious mind. Now, when we look at the subconscious mind, we sometimes call it the emotional mind, because the conscious mind relays information into the subconscious mind. So it's important that you know the difference between the two. Then in the conscious mind, that's where each and every one of us has got a power to choose. In all history, a human being is the only being that has been given the power to choose what he really wants. And you will see that in the conscious mind, that's where you have power to accept or reject thoughts that you don't want. It's important, therefore, to study. It's important, therefore, to put positive thoughts in your mind. You also realize that it also acts as an originator. This is where you can actually bring up inventions. This is actually where you can create that book that you want. Then when we look at the subconscious mind, it operates totally opposite to the conscious mind. The subconscious mind hasn't got the ability to reject anything. It cannot reject. It accepts whatever is dropped in it from the conscious mind. It's therefore important that we understand that you cannot determine the difference between that which is real and that which is imagined in the subconscious mind, unlike in the conscious mind, where there is power to reject and accept. Now, in today's world, when we look at our way of life, our conscious mind has been feeding on information that we hear from radio, information that we hear from other people, even the teachings from parents, our teachers, our mentors, and also the things that we see on television, the news that we actually hear, the newspapers that we buy, and all this information comes into our conscious mind, which in turn relays that negative or positive information into the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind also, relays that information into the body, and we have those emotions of reasoning, and the paradigm, the behavior that we have is actually through the teachings that we've been getting, through the information that we've been getting. An example is, if you have friends that don't behave in a way that is acceptable to society, very soon you start behaving in the same way. Let's take another look at an infant or a baby. When a baby is born, his or her conscious mind is actually open. It's open to information that starts dropping in through radio, through other people, through parents, through the things that the child starts watching on television. That's why it's very important to teach our kids things that will help them develop their personal life, their self-esteem, and move from where you want them to move from to where you want them to be. And of course, when they grow up, you have to give them that leeway to make decisions on their own. An example is, if a child is born in, say, a country like Korea, and there is no access to any English language, that child, because the information that is coming in terms of language is Korean, that child will know Korean, even if that child might be born from parents that come from English kind of family. That child will never know English because of the environment. So as the child is developing, the information that a child gets is very, very important. And it's for this reason that when we look at a child's self-esteem, it's actually built from the information that the child is getting. For instance, if as a parent you're not able to tell your child that you are beautiful, you are the most beautiful person that is here on earth, if you start saying you are useless, you are a fool, you are not going to amount to anything, what you do is, as the child is growing, that actually goes into the subconscious mind, and lack of confidence comes in, lack of expression, rejection comes in. It's very important to give a child that positive, vibrancy as they grow up. Tell them they're beautiful. Tell them they're going to be the greatest doctors. They're going to be the greatest pilots. That will actually be embedded in their subconscious mind, and that will change their behavior. It will change the paradigm in their life. And also, even in adults, it's possible to change your behavior. It's possible to change the paradigms in your life, to move from where you are to where you're supposed to be, by feeding your mind with positive things. When we look at the human mind, you see that in the conscious mind, that's where you have sensory antennas for you to see, for you to hear, for you to smell, for you to taste, for you to even touch. And then when you look at this, that starts bringing change in your intellectual mind in terms of perception, your will, your imagination, your memory, your intuition, even reason. So it's very important that what we see is actually something that will help you move from where you are, what you hear, what you actually access yourself to. That will actually help you to bring the results that you want to actually achieve in life. There is a saying by a prominent person, Ara Buckminster Foley. He says, never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. In other words, over the years, in my study of the mind, in my study of successful people, I have realized that if you want to become somebody in life like They are. You just have to start behaving the way they behave and learn exactly what they do, and that will actually bring in a new model in your life, and you are not actually changing what's been there over the years in terms of the laws of success, the principles moving from one place to another. It's always been the same. The only thing that you change is your paradigm, which is a multitude of habits. And then when you reach that point, when you realize that I'm not changing, I'm not getting the results that I want, you need to make a decision. It's very important in God's sight. Let's look at something that Napoleon Hill wrote in his book Think and Grow Rich. He says, he had actually studied over 500 highly accomplished individuals as he was writing this book. Analysis of several hundred people who had accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed that the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly, changing those decisions slowly if and when they were changed. So you need to start a process of making decisions very speedily, very, very speedily. Most of the times we procrastinate when decision, areas are concerned. People who have failed to accumulate money over time, without exception, have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slow, and changing those decisions quickly and often. This is also Napoleon Hill. Now, let's take this example. Look at the screen right now. See those lines represent levels of vibrations. Levels of vibrations. Remember, we think in pictures, but we can also think in frequencies. Now, take those small clouds that you are seeing there on your screen as thoughts that you want ultimately to bring the results that you want. Now, to get the results that you want, you need to set a goal. You really need to know exactly what you want. And then you also need to make a decision that I'm going to be committed. And commitment means learning new things every day, getting things that motivate you, reading things that will actually lead you towards your goal. Now, in this area of frequency, as you start thinking, you need to move from that bottom level of thinking to the high level of thinking that will actually move you to what we call the ABCD of thinking. Now, in the ABCD of thinking, the A will actually represent the results that you really want to know, to come to pass in your life. And then the B will actually represent what you think you can do. And the C will actually represent what you want. Now, under B, what you think you can do, it's actually the planning. You start planning, what can I really do to change my position where I am today to where I'm supposed to be tomorrow. Then the C, what I want. What is it that you really want? That's the major goal. You really need to establish exactly what it is that you really want, and you start fantasizing that thing. You start fantasizing that thing for you to actually achieve that goal that you want. That's why, Earl Nightingale said, success for most people, it remains a bug. We see people succeed, but we just say, no, maybe they were born that way. If you study the biographies of most successful people today, most of them are not actually in the position that you are right now. Most of them were actually below where you are. But through the process of learning, through the process of knowing the wants, knowing exactly what they want, and fantasizing about what they really want, and developing a theory, a process, and then it brings them to a level where now they start seeing the fact, the actual thing that they really want to achieve. So you need to start fantasizing. You need to start, developing a theory in your life, a process that, I'm able to move from where I am to where I'm supposed to be. And then you must be willing to make that change in order for you to achieve the goal that you really want. And when you look at the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, when you have reached that goal, it's going to be dropped into your subconscious mind, and then you have the facts, and at the end you have the results, and your fantasy becomes bigger and bigger. And as your fantasy becomes bigger, you start seeing exactly what you really want. You start believing what you really want to achieve, and you start doing it. 3 things: you start seeing, you start believing, and you start doing something about it. It's very important. Know where you are going and know that you will get there. It's very important to know where you are going and to know that you're going to get there. Have that belief within you that you can actually do it. You can actually do it. You need to have the will to do it in order for you to actually reach where you want to reach. There is a quote by Dr. Wernher von Braun. He says, "The law of this universe are so precise that we have no difficulty building a spaceship, sending people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of the fraction of a second." I'll read that again. "The law of this universe are so precise that we have no difficulty building a spaceship, sending people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second." In other words, there are laws that we need to follow in order to move from one point to another. Just like when you want to go into town to buy something, there are laws of transport, that you need to actually abide by. So you need to start fantasizing on what you really want in order for you to have the goal, and that's a creative process. That's a creative process that will bring about facts. And you know what? The individual lacks the conscious of understanding of the laws and how the laws work in order to achieve goals. That's the only problem that most of us have. Over the years, through mentorship, I have learned 3 things from one mentor called Bob Pratko. He was talking about 3 letters. It's H, another H, and a W. The first H represents health, the second H represents happiness, and the other W represents wealth. And when you study these 3 things, you actually start getting the results that you want. Like if you want good health, you need to do something about it to get the result that you want. If you want to gain weight, or if you want to lose weight. It's also the same with happiness. You need to study it and do something about it. It's the same even with wealth. You need to follow a certain process in order for you to move from where you are to reach the wealth that you really want to achieve in life, to be financially free, to be debt free. You need to study. Now, let's come back to that small little diagram. You need to understand the way your conscious mind works, and you need to know that it is in the conscious mind where you have your intellect, and then it is through your intellect that you will be able to activate the ones that you really want in your life, that will actually influence the subconscious mind to start having a paradigm shift, which is actually a multitude habits that you develop that will actually start bringing in emotional change within your body, to start disciplining yourself to study the things that you really want. The law of attraction will actually work in harmony with what you are thinking, and that response to the behavior, the new behaviors, the new study that you start imagining, when you start knowing exactly what you want, you start having new paradigm shift, because you make sure that you start studying things that will create your imagination in your conscious mind and also bring about an image in your subconscious mind that will also influence your change. When you impress an image upon your conscious mind, that image dictates your vibration. Then whatever is in harmony with your vibration is attracted in your life. So now I'll pose this question. What are you attracting in your life? What is it that you are studying? What kind of people are surrounding you? What kind of behavior pattern are you following? Who is your mentor? Who is your model? Is there somebody you want like model, like this successful person, and then study them, learn from them? That is very important. The second question I would pose is, look at your results. Is it really what you want to get? Are you satisfied with what you have, what you're earning, where you are? Then the third part would be, what do you really want to attract into your life? And in that question, there is that want. So you really need to start from there and know exactly what you want. There's a quote by Joe Becker, the author of Paradigms. He says, to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. And when we talk of paradigm, it's a multitude of habits. You need to change your daily habits. You need to change the way you actually plan your day. When you wake up every morning, start up with a prayer and then affirmations. By affirmation, I mean you said today is going to be a great day. I am beautiful. I can do whatever I want to do. I will become whoever I want to become. Have that paradigm shift and do something about it. The other thing that you need is you need to choose a mentor in life. A mentor is an effective person that has the ability to transfer awareness, experience, knowledge, and confidence from their mind to other people. So you need to have a mentor in your life in the area of your passion. If there is somebody who's successful in music and you love music, go to that person. Ask them to mentor you so that you can be like successful as they are. If, for instance, you have a dream of writing a book, choose a mentor who has written books. In fact, it's my area. I have written over 30 books, so I can actually share with you what I've gone through, the processes of writing books, and so on. There's this book that I love so much by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. There's a quote there that there's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one is ready for a thing until they believe they can acquire it. The state of mind must be belief, not mere hope or wish. Open-mindedness is essential for belief. Closed minds will not inspire faith, courage, and belief. It's very important for us to stop hoping and wishing and start believing and start doing something about it with courage and belief. Mere hope and wish can't do anything. You need to believe in yourself and you have to be ready to take action in order for you to achieve your goal. Remember, no more effort is required to aim higher in life, to demand abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. No more effort is required to aim higher in life, to demand abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. So you have to have these three things. You have to know how to execute what you really want. You really need to know how to have coherence. It's just another word for teamwork. And you team up with a mentor, and you also need effort, the ability for you to do things each and every day. You bring in the same level of effort and do the best that you can in order for you to move to another level. There's another quote in this great book, Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill says, "The accumulation of great fortunes calls for power, and power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. But that knowledge does not necessarily have to be the possession of the person who accumulates the fortune." You really need to have this highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. And knowledge can only be acquired through continuous learning. There's one principle that I've learned over the years, is that every skill is learnable. Every skill is learnable. You learned how to speak, you learned how to walk, you learned how to drive, you learned how to ski, you learned even how to write, you learned how to write a book, you learned how to design a house. Every skill is learnable. You learned how to add 1 + 1 = 2. Every skill is learnable. But the most important thing is for you to make a decision that I want to change. I want my life to change. And when you make that decision, you need to bring in discipline. Discipline is simply the ability to give yourself a command and then follow it. Wants and discipline need to be connected. Remember, discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and then follow it. For instance, you can say, every morning I'll be reading a motivational book. Over the years, all the people that I've been studying in terms of success, there's one thing I've learned: they are disciplined. They study. There are other people that read 6 books, motivational books, every week. So which means they read 24 books in a month. I have also learned that pattern. Every day I crave to learn something new every day from a different person in the area of my passion. And my area of passion is motivation and writing. I love writing. So develop and maintain a sense of urgency in your life, that I want to learn. I want to move from this level to another. That's the only way you're going to achieve your goals. Getting a lot done in a short period of time in a calm and confident manner needs a sense of urgency. You need to have the sense of urgency to say, I need to change. In my love life, I need to change. In my finances, I need to change. In my business, I need to change. In my relationships with other people, I need to change. In my habits, in my behavior, in my speech, in my perception, in my managing of time, in my effectiveness, in administration, in my productivity, in order for me to get results that I really want in my life. So I want to tell you this today, that you need to make a decision today that I want to change. We have a coaching program that we call Postbonaire. It's actually based on my new book, The Postbonaire, How to Develop Rich Thinking. You can order a copy of this book. If you want to join our mentorship program, The Postbonaire, you're free. You can write us. The email address is there. The website is there. And I just want to thank you for taking this time to just listen and watch about how you can achieve your goals, how you can move from where you are to where you want to go. There's one thing that I know about you. There's greatness within you. There is a book inside you. The mark of greatness is upon you. My name is Elijah Miti. God bless you.